Hello, Professor Savage. My name is Josh Schwartzman, and I decided to make a video for this project because I can get so much more info off with words than I can with you reading a long PowerPoint file. But let's go ahead and get started. The scene I decided to go with was the story of Hope, Scene 7, with the man and the woman as it's named in the script, who we later figure out is Hope and Daniel. And I wanted to focus on the lighting for it, and I ran into the issue of, you can't really design lighting without scenic, so I also kind of quick did a scenic plot to accompany the lighting design for this project. So let's get started. So before I get into the scene itself, just a little bit about the venue I was picturing this in. Definitely going with the proscenium style theater, traditional style theater, non-rake stage. And I was really hoping it could be, staged in a more kind of intimate venue, something, maybe 250, 300 seats. Something where, your audience is pretty close to your performers and all the scenic elements of the production, to get kind of a more homey feeling that I think is associated with the town of Almost. Let's go ahead and start with the stage plot, and I should have that pulled up by now. With this, and I'm going to show you some pictures associated with this, I decided to go with an uneven layout. That's because, I think that in reading the script, the town has like a certain kind of quirkiness to it, and I wanted to make sure that my scenic design reflected some of that quirkiness. Starting from the forward, working back, we have our audience there. Downstage right, you'll see that there's a house with a porch. That's the house where the woman walks up to originally from the car. And then I should be pulling up a picture now of what I was thinking for this house. I was going with a kind of a distressed look for the whole scene. So starting with a red house, and you can see some pictures here that I've pulled up. That's some work I did on a pressure a while back with some distressed kind of painting on wood. And that's what I was really going for with this house. And definitely, a big porch on it. So, that's good playing area for actors and whatnot. Anyway, moving along. As we move stage left, you can see I have a couple lamps there. Hopefully those will be made practical lamps, with all the wonderful electrical cabling associated with that. Moving on more stage left, we have a red bench. You have a picture up here now. Like I said, going with the house, it's more of a distressed look on the bench. Don't want it looking too pristine. And that's, it's a good place to have a conversation and whatnot. And also I intended with the scene design to keep it versatile for other scenes as well. So, like a random idea I had was, put the house on a central pivot point, and you can have some interior scene on the other side of the house. And, during a blackout or a scene change, you can rotate that 180 degrees and have a whole new scene. Moving up stage, this whole green area I have lined out, that is what I intended to be is kind of a snow-covered grass hill look. So, you can still see bright green grass growing through there, but it's mostly covered in snow. That can be achieved with, cotton and, snow machines and whatnot. You can buy fake snow, that kind of thing. And you can also see throughout there I have some trees interspersed, and you'll see where those trees play into a little bit with the lighting design. And definitely it adds some depth to the scene. I want it, varying height to kind of break up what is otherwise a fairly blank stage. And right behind that, you see I have a shark tooth scrim. That'll come into play a little later. And then I have just some ground psych units, which we'll talk about later, and then a psych, and then you just have your back wall. So now I want to talk about the lighting for the production for my scene, the Story of Hope, Scene 7. First, as you see on the screen now, I drafted up a lighting plot. I just used the stage dimensions from a venue I used to work at, and for the sake of simplicity, I didn't put gel numbers on everything. But before I get started, I want to go over with the colors of the gels I selected for the units, because I feel like that's really important to the lighting design. Just to start with what's there. This takes place in a town where it's snowing a lot, so I wanted to make sure we got, lighting-wise, the effect that you are surrounded by snow. The main way I did that is with Lee 200 Downwash. It's the only non-Roscoe Lux color I'm using. And I really love that color. It adds a really good kind of vibrancy, snow reflection. It's a very cooling color. You feel cold when you see it, that kind of thing. And that's why I added the Lee 200. Associated with that, there's also an RO4 downwash as well, and that brings back kind of some of the warmth to the scene. We don't want it to look like it's in the middle of a cave, so that's why I selected the RO4 downwash to accompany the Lee 200 downwash. You also see some of the other colors I have there. I have all the front light as a no color, with no color, because I don't really use a lot of front light in my designs, and I don't want to wash out the production either. Moving along, I have a lot of R49 in here, and that is to really add just some vibrancy to it. Keep the audience on the edge. Staring at cool and calm colors the entire production would be boring. And that adds a good sense of vibrancy, especially given some of the contention that goes on in this scene and whatnot. Moving along. I have some R24 interspersed in a couple of the Parnell units, and that is as an effect of a reflection. So in my scenic design that I talked about earlier, I have a red house and a red bench. So I wanted to make sure that we got some red lights somewhere, on those snow-covered hills and whatnot, as if, the house was reflecting off of this bright, fresh snow. So that's why that the R24 is in there. And then you also see there's some R80 interspersed, and that is, that's just your primary blue. That's to add kind of a coolness, a darkness to this, since it does go on during the nighttime, and that is why that is there. Quick moving on to fixture selection. I'll quick go through it because it's really not that important. I have, it's mostly ETC rig. I have a couple LED source 4 units in there, lensed at 36 degrees. I also have a bunch of traditional 36 degrees source 4 juniors in there. I don't know why I put zooms in the plot, but I did. Most of your downlight is coming from the source 4 Parnells with wide lenses in them, wide flood lenses in them. And then I also have 5 VL2500 wash fixtures interspersed on the second and third electric pipe, just as specials and whatnot, because they can change colors and they're pretty. As far as fixtures, that's how that goes. A couple of accessories are on there, barn doors, whatnot. I threw some breakup gobos in there. And the reason I did that is because I pictured this town as being, somewhere in the forest. And I'm pulling up a picture now of, you can see an effect I did on a production a little while back where we had, in combination with haze, I put these gobos in these source 4 units, and it made it look like the light was shining through the trees. And that's why I have those gobos in there. It's also why I have some hazers in there as well, even though I don't think I put them on the plot. But I love that effect. It looks awesome. I think it'll really help the scene in terms of believability with the light kind of shining through the trees, even though it is at night, it's moonlight. And that's why the breakup gobos are there. Something that is not fixture-wise on this plot that was on the scenic plot was that ground psych unit. And you can see this picture now. This was a production of the Crucible that I worked a little while back, and we were going for kind of like this Aurora look on the psych, and you can kind of see how I have the warm colors there on an R80 backed psych. And the town of Almost Maine, being where it is, has a lot of the northern lights. So I wanted to use those to create some texture on the psych, so it's not just, a blank R80 wash. And I wanted to use that to, like I said, that kind of aurora, put some greens on there, some teals and whatnot. Break it up, add some texture to the back that's behind the trees and behind all the bushes there. You'll also see right now I created a magic sheet to go with that lighting plot, and I do this just because it helps me when I'm programming, and it also helps both myself and you kind of visualizing where the light is going as opposed to where the fixtures are going. And I just assigned some arbitrary channel numbers to these starting at 1. You'll notice on there that the lighting is actually very symmetrical, unlike the scenic plot. And I did that to the benefit of, in theory, if we were planning the other scenes around this, I would want to keep it versatile. If someone wanted to have a scene up on the hill or, by the bench or, more upstage or more downstage, I wanted to keep it a very versatile lighting plot so that that could be used for multiple scenes.